just an aspect that I want to kind of bring into consideration here when it goes back into like the lore of the dogmen in particular. So the Shawnee warriors had a story about the dogmen soldiers, and to go a little bit more in depth with it, back in the 1860s, the Shawnee established their own group of warriors known as the dog soldiers or dogmen. Native Americans spent years studying or becoming one with their spirit animal, taking on the mannerisms and strengths of wolves or wild dogs. Allegedly, the Shawnee dogmen were killed off by the U.S. Army. However, according to the lore passed down from the elders, not all of them died. According to legend, some of the dogmen actually shapeshift into dogs and now roam the woods and swamplands. It's worth noting that while witnesses admit feeling terrified, there hasn't been any known deaths attributed to dogmen. This is thought to be because of the Indian belief that one must invite the evil unto themselves. It cannot just harm you. And at least for that, that's where like the multiple factors come in, where when it comes to like dogman lore, I don't necessarily think it's just like one component. I think that there's definitely like the werewolf, like spiritual aspect to it, where there's that subsection of it. And then there's also the ones that you hear about like attacking people and all these stories that get covered up. A lot of the time, like you were kind of like we were referencing earlier in the episode, they seem to be near locations that are like government bases. So when it comes to that, I don't think that they're like turning people into werewolves, so to speak. Like I think that there's like the natural components of the dogmen things, that there was something that evolved from nature, but I feel like that inspired governments to start actually trying to do some like gene splicing. And at that point, I don't think that they're, again, turning people into dogmen. I think that they're taking like human DNA with like a dog DNA and they're splicing it and raising this thing up from the time that it's like a little tiny embryo, and they're essentially creating these creatures rather than turning people into them, like rather like the super soldier concept.